Hello everyone. Here is a very quick and short video on 5G numerology. Now, numerology, what really does numerology mean? Right? When you talk about numerology from somebody whose native language is not English, numerology could be confusing. So generally, I would associate numerology with horoscope or with something to do with numbers. Even if you search on Google, the first link is the Wikipedia link, which says numerology is any belief in divine mystical relationship between a number and one or more coinciding events. It is also the study of numerical value of letters in words, names, and ideas. It is often associated with the paranormal alongside astrology and similar divinatory arts. So, numerology is sort of a bit confusing, and that's why I wanted to make a very quick short video on 5G numerology. Going back to LTE, you remember in LTE we had the carrier frequency of the subcarriers of 15 kilohertz frequency, and we had resource blocks which is 180 kilohertz wide. So looking at different channel bandwidths in LTE, we had all the way from 1.4 megahertz till 20 megahertz channel bandwidth, right? And the number of subcarriers would vary depending on what channel bandwidth was selected. But the resource block remains the same. It's 12 subcarriers in the frequency domain, and the carrier spacing is 15 kilohertz. So it's 180 kilohertz. Fast forward to 5G new radio. The radio frame is a unit of 10 milliseconds. The subframes are defined as in units of 1 milliseconds. The slots are defined as 14 OFDM symbols, and their time interval depends on the subcarrier spacing. So if you look at the picture below, if if the OFDM subcarrier spacing was 15 kilohertz, the same as LTE, then you would have the slots, 14 slots fitting one subframe. Sorry, 14 OFDM symbols fitting one slot. But instead, if the subcarrier spacing changes to say 30 or 60 or 120 kilohertz, the slot reduces in size, as you can see in the picture below. So the scalable OFDM numerology, or numerology for short, is used to efficiently address the diverse uh, spectrum deployments and services. So if you look at this example from Qualcomm, you can see the first particular picture shows outdoor macro coverage, right? So this is a typical large cell as you would have in case of LTE. So this example is for FDD at 700 megahertz. So here the subcarrier spacing is 15 kilohertz, right? And you can have variable channel bandwidths. If you go to the outdoor macro and small cell, the example is for TDD from 3 to 5 gigahertz. So it's a smaller cell, right? It may not be small cell, it may be a macro, but it's a smaller cell compared to the one before. So here the subspacing carrier, the subcarrier spacing is much larger. Okay, if you go to indoor, right, you can even have a much bigger subcarrier spacing for 60 kilohertz. And if you go to millimeter wave, where the cell sizes would be actually quite small, and beamforming would be used to reach the devices from the transmitter. So you can have even much larger subcarrier spacing of 120 kilohertz. So the the OFDM, the subcarrier spacing would be variable depending on what the scenario is. And you can actually mix and match. So This is another very good picture from Qualcomm. So you can see that the different kinds of subcarriers are mixed when transmitting. So you can use the scalable numerology along with for different services in the same particular transmission, right? So as you can see, you have EMBB, the enhanced mobile broadband uh, carriers. You have carriers for multicast, you have device to device, you have some blank slots which are for future, the blank subcarriers and blank slots which will be used in future, probably when massive machine type communication services are defined. Then you also have some transmission designed for the ultra reliable low latency communications, the URLLC. So you can mix and match all different kind of subcarriers and the frame subcarrier size to be transmitted in the same particular network in the air interface. So this is the definition I've come across with regards to 5G numerology, right? So even though we understand, but if you have to define it to someone, this is from a ZT magazine. And here it says that in context of 3GPP, 5G standardization contributions, the term numerology refers to the configuration of waveform parameters, and different numerologies are considered as OFDM based subframes having different parameters such as subcarrier spacing or symbol time, CP size, etc. So CP is the cyclic prefix, right, which is the same as in case of LTE. Now the new radio subcarrier spacing is defined in a formula as 15 multiplied by 2 raised to n kilohertz, where n can take positive values at the moment, right? It's actually 0 or positive values. So when n is 0, so you have the 15 kilohertz, right, which is the same as LT. When n becomes 1, it becomes 30 kilohertz. It can become 60 kilohertz, 120 kilohertz, and even 240 kilohertz. Now, in future, and this is, I'm not sure about this, but this is what I think it's going to be, that n will be able to take both positive and negative values. So n equals -1, you have the 7.5 kilohertz, which is the same as LTE if you use certain broadcast multicast frames, right? N equals -2 becomes 3.75 kilohertz, which is the same as LTE narrowband IoT subcarrier spacing. So we will have to wait till probably, I'm not sure if it will come as a part of 5G phase 1 part 2, which will be in June 2018, or it will come as a part of release 16 which will be around December 2019. So we'll have to wait and see whether n can take negative values and what other positive values it can take. So as I promised, this was a nice and short video. Hopefully you found it useful, and for some other people like me who find this term numerology confusing, they can actually probably see why this is referred to as numerology and or 5G numerology. Thank you.